In the years before World War II, Germany was preparing its military for possible conflict. One area they focused on was improving their machine guns. In the 1920s, German experts realized they needed a more efficient and reliable machine gun to take into battle. The machine guns they had were outdated and too complicated. They wanted something modern and easy to use. One of the key people involved was Louis Stange, an engineer at Rheinmetall, a major German weapons company. Stange and his team started working on designs that would lead to the creation of an entirely new type of machine gun. Other companies, like Mauser, were also trying to make something new, but Rheinmetall's design stood out. By 1934, this work resulted in the Maschinengewehr 34, or MG-34 for short. It was a game-changer in weapon design. This machine gun was lighter and could fire much faster than previous models. It used a 7.2 by 57 mm cartridge, which was powerful and effective. The MG-34 could be fired from a bipod for support or mounted on a vehicle, showing off its versatility. It also had a belt-fed system, meaning it could shoot for a long time without needing to reload often. However, creating this weapon wasn't easy. There were challenges in production because it required complex machining and high-quality materials. This made it expensive and slower to produce at first. Despite the difficulties, it became a standard piece of equipment for the German army. Once the MG-34 was fielded, it proved highly effective. It gave German soldiers a big advantage in battle because it could fire rapidly and accurately. Its design influenced future machine guns, setting a new standard for military firepower. Today, the MG-34 is remembered as a breakthrough in weapon technology. It's not just a relic of the past, but a symbol of innovation in military engineering. Understanding the MG-34 helps us see how technology evolved during wartime and influenced the tools countries used to defend themselves. This machine gun shows how even during challenging times, technology continues to advance in surprising ways. Back in the early 1930s, Germany was gearing up for big changes. The world was still recovering from the aftermath of the First World War. At that time, there was a push to develop new military technology. Out of this environment came the Maschinengewehr 34, or the MG-34 for short. This was right before World War II broke out. Germany wanted a powerful and reliable machine gun that could be used by their soldiers in a variety of situations. The main person behind the MG-34 was a German engineer named Heinrich Vollmer. Heinrich worked with a company called Mauser, who was famous for making guns. Together, they created a lightweight and versatile machine gun that would become a game-changer. The MG-34 was officially introduced in 1934. It was built to be very adaptable. You could use it as a light machine gun by attaching it to a tripod or carry it easily by hand. What made it special was its ability to fire between 800 and 900 rounds per minute. That's super fast. It used a 7.92 by 57 mm cartridge, which was powerful enough for most combat situations. Despite being advanced, the design had some tricky bits to it. The MG-34 had many small parts which had to be precisely made. This made production slow and expensive. Some parts could get jammed if not cleaned properly, and it was tricky to fix in the middle of a battle. Even with these challenges, the MG-34 was very effective in combat. It was used by Germany in many battles during the start of World War II. Its quick firing rate gave German forces an advantage. As a result, other countries started to take notice and began working on their own rapid-fire guns. The MG-34 matters today because it influenced future designs of machine guns around the world. It taught everyone the importance of having both speed and flexibility in a weapon. Understanding its design and features helps explain how modern weapons have evolved. Even though it's an old piece of tech, the MG-34 still holds a place in military history because of its engineering excellence. In the late 1930s, tensions in Europe were on the rise, and countries started preparing for the inevitable conflict that became World War II. One of these preparations involved creating new weapons, and this is where the MG-34, a cool piece of German technology, came into play. The MG-34, short for Maschinengewehr 34, was a machine gun used by the German military. It could fire a lot of bullets very quickly, which made it a favorite with German soldiers. When World War II erupted in 1939, Germany invaded Poland, and soon the fighting spread across Europe. The Western Front, which included battles in France and other parts of Western Europe, saw heavy use of the MG-34. Leading German generals like Erwin Rommel relied on it for its versatility and reliability. The MG-34 was used by troops in all sorts of places and situations, from plowing through enemy lines to defending positions. The MG-34 was innovative for its time. It was designed to fire 900 bullets per minute, with bullets coming from either a belt or a drum magazine. Soldiers could easily swap its barrel when it got too hot from all the shooting, which was a pretty handy feature. But using the MG-34 was not all smooth sailing. Problems often arose in actual combat. The gun was expensive and tricky to make, so there were not enough of them. It also jammed sometimes, especially in dusty or muddy conditions. Despite these issues, the MG-34 made a big impact during battles on the Western Front. Its rapid-fire capability gave German troops an edge, especially during the early years of the war. It was part of what made blitzkrieg or lightning war strategies so effective. But as time went on, it became clear that Germany needed something cheaper and easier to make, which eventually led to the MG-42, another famous machine gun. Learning about the MG-34 is not just about cool weapon tech. It is a reminder of how wartime innovation can drive change, shaping the course of history. Understanding these elements helps us see the bigger picture of how technology and strategy interact in global conflicts, which is still important today. In the early 1940s, Europe was in the middle of a huge conflict called World War II. The battles were tough, and new technology was changing the way wars were fought. One of the key pieces of this change was a machine gun called the MG-34. Developed in Germany, it became a major part of their military might. The MG-34 was designed by a German company called Rheinmetall and introduced in 1936. It looked like a long metal tube with a big barrel and used 7.92 millimeter bullets. What made it special was that it could fire lots of bullets very quickly, up to 800 to 900 rounds per minute. Soldiers could carry it by hand and set it up almost anywhere, making it super flexible in battle. During World War II, people like German soldiers Hans and Fritz used the MG-34 on the front lines. When their commander gave the order, they would quickly set up the MG-34 on a tripod or bipod and begin firing. This gave the Germans an advantage, as they could lay down a wall of bullets to keep enemies from moving forward. However, using the MG-34 was not always easy. The gun was known for being complicated, with lots of small parts that needed to be cleaned and maintained. It could also overheat if fired for too long, requiring soldiers to swap out barrels frequently in the middle of a fight. Imagine being in the middle of a battlefield and having to change a hot barrel while under fire. That's a lot of pressure. Despite the challenges, the MG-34 did its job well. It allowed German forces to hold key positions and fend off attacks. But the complexity of the MG-34 led to the development of a newer, simpler gun later in the war, the MG-42, which also became famous. So, why should we care about the MG-34 today? Well, it reminds us how technology can change the rules of the game, even in something as old as warfare. The MG-34 was part of a technological revolution in how battles were fought, and its design influenced many other firearms that came after it. Learning about it helps us understand how war shapes innovation and vice versa. In the late 1930s, tensions were rising globally leading up to World War II. Countries were gearing up with new technologies to gain an edge in battle. Germany was no exception. They needed an effective weapon that could be used in various combat situations. This is where the Maschinengewehr 34, or the MG-34, came into play. It was a groundbreaking light machine gun that changed how modern warfare was fought. The MG-34 was designed by a team of German engineers led by Heinrich Vollmer. They wanted to make a versatile weapon that could be used everywhere, from the trenches to the back of a moving vehicle. The MG-34 could fire almost 900 rounds per minute, which was super fast for the time. It used a 7.92mm cartridge and could be mounted on a bipod for stability or attached to vehicles for larger operations. This made it a reliable and flexible machine gun on the battlefield. So, how did it work? The MG-34 had a recoil-operated system, which means it used the kick from firing a bullet to load the next one automatically. This clever mechanism allowed for continuous firing with minimal effort from the soldier. It also had an adjustable firing rate, letting soldiers switch between single shots and fully automatic firing. This adaptability made it ideal for different combat scenarios. However, there were some problems. The MG-34 was expensive and time-consuming to produce. Its parts were very precisely engineered, which meant they were not easy to manufacture on a large scale, especially during the pressures of wartime production. Despite this, it set the standard for the future design of machine guns. The results of the MG-34's introduction were significant. It gave German troops a clear advantage in firepower during the early years of World War II. The weapon's versatility and speed were unmatched by the opposing forces, influencing other countries to rethink their own military equipment. So why does this matter today? The MG-34 paved the way for future developments in automatic weapons. It showed the importance of versatility and reliability in military tools. Many modern firearms still use concepts introduced by the MG-34, proving that this piece of history continues to shape the way modern wars are fought. Understanding its impact helps us appreciate the ongoing evolution of military technology. Imagine walking into a history museum with cool weapons from the past. One of them is the MG-34, a machine gun that played a big part in history. Let's go back to the 1930s in Germany. The country wanted a new weapon for its army. That's when designers and engineers put their heads together to create something special. This led to the birth of the MG-34, a machine gun that could shoot thousands of bullets really fast, thanks to its smooth design. Key people in this story were the engineers at Mauser, a company in Germany known for making weapons. They worked hard to design the MG-34, which became the German military's go-to machine gun in World War II. Imagine designing a device that could change the outcome of battles. That's what these engineers did. The MG-34 was made to be versatile. This means it could be used in many different ways. Soldiers could carry it or place it on a tripod for more stable shooting. It fired 900 rounds per minute, which is really fast. The gun used 7.92mm bullets and was very advanced for its time. The MG-34 was air-cooled and had a quick-change barrel. This feature meant soldiers could switch barrels when they got too hot, keeping it firing for longer. But this gun wasn't perfect. It had problems. The MG-34 could jam or break if not cleaned properly. Plus, it was expensive and took a long time to build. These issues made it a bit tricky for widespread use as World War II continued. When the war ended, the MG-34 left its mark on how we think about weapons. Its design influenced many modern machine guns. Today, some countries still use it or its upgraded versions. Why does this matter to us now? The MG-34 teaches us about innovation and the challenges of making powerful machines. It shows how technology from the past still echoes in our world today. Understanding this helps us see how history shapes the tools and technology we have now.